Hey guys, Ugly Kid Joe Cross here. With the Skirmish season coming up, and a lot of people are going to be jumping into Blitz pretty heavily, I wanted to go talk about my Levia Blitz deck that I've been running at events and have some pretty good results with it. So, without further ado, this is Levia. She has 4 intellect and 20 health, the same as most heroes in your Blitz format. We're looking at you, Kano. Her ability is at the end of the turn, if you've banished something that has 6 or more power, you don't have to pay for blood debt. This is pretty amazing as far as not having to take blood debt damage. It allows you to play a lot of more powerful cards that would usually have drawbacks, such as blood debt, and this does not allow you to soak up that extra damage. Usually the game is over, hopefully before you start taking blood debt damage. As far as the weapons, I am using the double mandible claw build, and this is a once per turn 2 resource action. An attack for 3, and if you've discarded a card with 6 or more power, it has go again. We will get into some of the synergies with these claws as we go throughout the deck. As far as equipment, for the legs, I am running the Scabskin Leathers. I actually pulled this out of one of my first Welcome to Wraith box openings. If you want to look through my other videos that I have on YouTube here, I opened this up on camera, I believe. Once per turn action, roll a 6-sided dice, and you gain action points equal to that number rolled down or rounded down. And it can also block for a total of 3, 2 in the first combat chain, for 1 in another combat chain. So that's pretty good. If you've somehow missed this dice roll, one of the other items I'm running is the Gambler's Gloves in the arm slot. If you would roll a dice, actually it says an effect would resolve that includes rolling a 6-sided dice. Or 6-sided die, you can destroy Gambler's Gloves. If you do, the controller of the effect rerolls all 6-sided dice. It is not just for you. If you are going up against another brute and they roll theirs and they roll a 6, you can actually tell them, hey, you're going to reroll that 6. I'm going to sacrifice my gloves. Which is pretty nice. It has a 0 block, but being able to reset your opponent's dice rolls actually makes this card a lot better. We were actually talking at the store the other day of people siding this in just to go up against the brute decks. Putting it in their 80 for constructed, so if they go up against Rhinar or they go up against Levia, just making them reroll their dice is pretty brutal. And then I'm running Heartened Cross Strap. It allows your next attack action to cost 2 resources less. I would probably rather run Carrion Husk here. I do not own a Carrion Husk, and I am not looking into buying one. If a good trade comes available, I will be picking that up to replace this Heartened Cross Strap. But there's a lot that the Heartened Cross Strap can actually do in this deck, and you'll see those synergies later on. And then for my head slot, I am actually running Hope Merchant's Hood. A lot of people are running Ebb and Fold or running some of the other headpieces. I really like this because if you get stuck with a hand, my deck runs heavy red. If you get stuck with a hand that is running a bunch of red and you draw all of those red, being able to shuffle things back, especially on a Blood Rush Bellows turn, you really want to be able to set up to make your Blood Rush Bellows turns the most optimal that they can be. So in testing, I'm really loving the Hope Merchant's Hood. And if you can't afford a Scabskin Leathers right now, Host of the Shadow Beast is actually really good in this deck also. Just the fact that you can give yourself an action point. It's pretty much a Scabskin Leathers that you can use once, and you get to control when you use it. It's not randomized, so it's actually might be better in some situations, in whatever your meta is. Or if you're running up against a bunch of wizards, you might want to throw the arcane damage in there. That's completely up to you, but that's my equipment right there, with the Scabskin Leathers, Gambler's Gloves, Hope Merchant's Hood, and the Heartened Cross Strap. So we'll start with the red, because that's where the beefiness is, the beef. We're starting with 2 Boneyard Marauders. This is just a 1-cost attack that you have to banish 3 random cards from your graveyard. So that is pretty nice. Just 1 for 6. You can't do it on the first turn unless you really go crazy with discarding cards. With my Levia deck, I like to let my opponent go first, and I will spend my first turn just full blocking any damage that they can put up. Just so I can usually, if I need to play this on my turn 1, I've blocked enough that I can actually just put in 6 damage. Next we have 2 Breakneck Batteries. This card is just amazing. It is two resources for a 6 attack, and you discard a random card, you'll learn when you play this deck that the random card discard is not always random. Usually you only have 6 power cards in your hand. If you don't only have 6 power cards in your hands, that's another reason the Hope Merchant's Hood is really good. If you get a couple blues and yellows that only have 5 attack, if it's time for your Blood Rush Bellows turn, you can actually just pitch those or use your Hope Merchant's Hood and shuffle them to get rid of at least one of them. That way your Blood Rush Bellows turns are getting go again and not just being stalled out. I'm running 1 Consuming Aftermath. That might be because I only have 1 Consuming Aftermath. It might be because it pitches for 3. Banish a shadow card from your hand, and it gets Dominate. I've actually won a lot of games just off of this single card. Dominate is amazing. A lot of these cards do not have on-hit effects. And a lot of people who haven't played against Levia, they're waiting for, okay, well, I'm just going to wait and block something that has an on-hit effect. Well, spoiler alert, there's not much on-hit effect, if any, in this deck. So the next thing you know, they're at 5 or 6 life, and you're like, hey, here's some Dominate, and usually that will end the game. I'm running 2 Deadwood Rumblers. This is just good for triggering your Blood Debt banishing cards from either your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard, depending on what you're playing against. It's just a basic attack for 8. It does not block, so it is a double-edged sword here. But sometimes you just want to swing for 8 and banish cards from the graveyard. And this is a 3-pitch, so it is pretty greedy. Another reason we have the Heart and Cross Strap. Alright, this is the card that makes the deck soar, Dread Screamer. It is a pitch for 2. And these are in no particular order, they're just in alphabetical order. It is a pitch for 2 that you banish 3 cards, and if you banish something that has 6 or more power, this gets go again. So it's an attack for 6 that can have go again. It only costs 2. We'll get into this, we'll set this off to the side and we'll talk about some of the synergies later. But this card's amazing. We're running 1 Endless Maw. This is if you banish something that costs 6 or more, it gets plus 3. So it's actually 3, usually an attack for 9, which is pretty good. I'm running 1 Ghostly Visit, which is just a 1-cost attack for 4. You can play it from your banish zone. So a lot of the times I will use one of my, like say Dread Screamer to banish Ghostly Visit and something with 6 power so it gets go again. You can play Ghostly Visit. It goes back into your graveyard, which is going to allow you to give more things to banish in future turns. So I'm only running 1 of those, but it's super fun, and it's usually a good 4 damage. Like I said, it's not a brute attack, so it's not going to trigger your Blood Rush Bellows, but sometimes just an extra 4 is better than your Mandible Claws only coming across for 3. And then we have 2 Graveling Growls. Graveling Growl is amazing. It is 1 resource for an attack for 7. You can only play it if something with 6 or more power has been put into your banish zone this turn. That's why it's really good with the Dread Screamer. With a Dread Screamer turn, you can pitch, if you have a 3-card hand, you can pitch a blue, play your Dread Screamer, and follow it up with a Graveling Growl. 13 damage from a 3-card hand with no arsenal. So if you have this in your arsenal, or you have Dread Screamer in your arsenal, there's my dryer, you can actually have a 2-card hand and still put across 13 damage, which is pretty amazing. And then I have 2 Pulpings. This is 2 cost for a 6 attack. Draw a card and discard a card. If it's 6 or more power, this gains Dominate. And if it's also blocked or defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has Go Again. Usually this always has Dominate. Usually it always has Go Again. Unless they have a defense reaction in their hand and a defense reaction in play, usually this is hitting. And there's 2 of those. I've got 2 Savage Feast. This is 1 for a 6 attack. And discard a random card, and if it has 6 or more power, draw a card. These are really good for your Go Again turns with the Scabskin Leathers. If you roll it and you're like, oh, I've got 3 action points, then you can usually pitch this, discard a card, which is going to give your Claws Go Again, which is pretty nice. So 2 of those, and then we're finishing out here with 2 Writhing Beasthawk. This is 2 resources, an attack for 6. And you can banish 3 cards, and if you banish something that has 6 or more power, this gains Dominate, which is awesome. And a lot of these do have Blood Debt, so we are trying to banish cards to shut the Blood Debt off. Next, we're going to move on to the yellow. And like I said, I haven't put a lot of money into this deck, so some of the cards that I have are not the best. I actually pulled this Art of War at a draft, and it was amazing. I opened the Art of War, somebody else opened a foil Art of War, and we also opened up a rainbow foil of the Wizard Boots out of one draft, and it was pretty good. Everybody knows what this is, but if you don't, you're about to learn. One resource, you get to choose two. Your attacks get +1 and plus one attack and +1 defense. This is an instant, so you can use it while defending. The next attack you play gains go again. Until the end of turn, you can defend with attack cards from Arsenal, so they don't have to be defense reactions in order to block with them. And you can banish an attack action from your hand to draw 2 cards. This card right here is pretty amazing. It gives you go again. It allows you to draw 2 cards while turning off Blood Debt. So you banish an attack action card that has 6 power. You get to draw 2 cards, and you don't have to worry about triggering your Blood Debt for the turn. So this is pretty nice. There's been times where I've had to use it just to turn off Blood Debt. Beast Within, this card is pretty amazing with all the discard. It is 3 for an attack for 6. This card hardly ever gets to swing, though, because if it's put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the combat chain, so if you're not attacking or blocking with it, banish the top card of your deck and lose a life. If it has 6 or more power, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you repeat this process. So this card by itself will turn off Blood Debt, because if you discard it, you get to banish the top card. If it doesn't have 6 power, it won't go to your hand, but you'll do it again, and you'll lose another life. But you're not losing Blood Debt damage, because you're going to probably find something that has 6 eventually. It's going to go to Banish Zone, then go to your hand. So not only is it going to go to your hand, but it's going to allow Levia's ability to activate because it did get banished. I've got 2 of these. I love them. This is the card that kind of makes the deck just soar. Blood Rush Bellow. This card is amazing. This is the reason we are running the Mandible Claws. It costs 1. As an additional cost, discard a random card. Like I was saying, the cards are usually not randomly discarded in this game. Your Brute attacks get +2 this turn. Now this says your Brute attacks. It doesn't say your Brute attack action cards. So if you swing with the Mandible Claw, after you've discarded a random card, say it had 6 or more power, you're going to draw the 2 cards. You're going to have pitches. Your Mandible Claws are going to swing for 5 with go again. So that's 10 damage right there. If you can follow that up with something like a small attack for 6, it's going to be an attack for 8. So you can actually put up, I think I've put up like 24 damage off of a full hand with Arsenal Blood Rush Bellow, and that's pretty good. So 2 of those. These are another reason that the Hope Merchant's Hood is so good. If you have a Blood Rush Bellow's turn and you're sitting there with 2 or 3 red cards in your hand, or you have cards that have 5 or less attack in your hand, now you really don't want to be discarding those randomly. So you just use the Hope Merchant's Hood to get rid of them. So you're not taking a chance at randomly discarding something that has 5 power and shutting your turn off. Because if this doesn't get go again, it feels really bad. You just paid to discard a card, and you get nothing from it. You've lost your action point. You've lost your turn. And I don't like that happening. Then we've got 2 Deadwood Rumblers, which is a 3 resource attack for 7. Like I said, it has no defense value. So you draw a card and discard a card, and if you discard 6 or more, you banish a card from your graveyard. It's just going to turn off your Blood Debt or get something out of your opponent's deck. Say they're maybe on Blood Debt, or maybe they are on Chain, and you can actually banish some of the cards that they can't play from the Banish Zone that have Blood Debt, or just really shut their tempo down. So I've only got 1 of those. I have 2 of the reds in, but I'm running 1 Yellow Dread Screamer, mostly because it has the 5 attack. This usually doesn't swing too often. Usually I try to use this to pitch. It's nice to have in the graveyard. It is nice if you need to go again. Like I said, even with the Gravel and Growl Dread Screamer combo, you can pitch 3 to swing for 5, then swing for 6. So with a 2-card hand with one of these in your arsenal, if it's a blue card in your hand and this, right there is still 11 damage for just a 2-card hand. So you can block some things and get some damage through, which is pretty nice. And like I said, we already talked about the Gravel and Growls. There they are. We are running 2 yellow Hungering Slaughter Beasts, which is an attack for 6, and it's banished 3 random cards from your graveyard. And then this card is also very amazing. Mark of the Beast, I recommend picking these up as soon as possible for the deck. 2 attack, or 2 cost for a 6 attack, and if it's put into your graveyard from anywhere, banish it. So this is an attack for 6 that itself is going to turn off Blood Debt because it banishes itself. Plus it can block for 3 and then gets banished. That's not really what you want to do with this. You want to be swinging with it, or you want to be randomly discarding it just to shut off your Blood Debt. This card is amazing. Then we'll move on to the blues. I have 1 Convulsion from the Bellows of Hell, which is a 2 cost. Banish 3 random cards from your graveyard. If you banish something 6 or more, your next attack gets +1 and Dominate. This is pretty nice, just being able to get some extra damage through, but it's that Dominate that you're looking for. You're going to want to pitch this early, and if you somehow start cycling through your deck in the late game and have not died from Blood Debt or killed your opponent, being able to give something Dominate is usually a good way to seal the game. 2 Deadwood Rumblers. This card is awesome because it's a 3 pitch, but it also still has a 6 attack. And so this is really nice just to be able to put on some pressure, or if you need it for resources, that's there. So I've got 2 of those in there. I've got 2 of the Blue Dread Screamers, just mostly for the other plays I was talking about, where if you have a 3-card hand or a 2-card hand and one of them's blue, you can usually still do some pretty good damage. Plus the go again is really nice. Soul Harvest, this is Levia's specialization. It costs 6. That is asking a lot from this deck. Another reason that we're running the Heartened Cross Strap. You can banish 6 cards from your graveyard, and it gets +1 for each Blood Debt card. Now, a lot of people think, well, they just want to banish all of your Blood Debt cards. This is actually, it doesn't say they have to be cards with 6 or more power. This is a good way to make sure that you're turning off Blood Debt for the rest of the game by getting rid of anything that would not trigger Blood Debt, like banishing your Ghostly Visits, any equipment that you've had to sacrifice or destroy, or just any like Blood Rush Bellows. Get that thing out of the your graveyard into your banish zone. That way later your random banishes is not hitting those. I can say that I've never actually played this in a Blitz game. I've usually always pitched it because I want to have it there if the game does go late. And then we're finishing up with 2 Wrecker Romps. This card is also very amazing. It's a 3 pitch for a 6 attack, and it only costs 2. And it's discard a random card. This card is just really good to have. Like I said, very good pitchable, but very good stuff. But that's the deck. That's the whole 60 right there. Like I said, there's a few flex spots within the deck. A lot of people don't like running the Dread Screamers at the blue because they do only have an attack of 4. Like I said, most of the time you're just pitching those. I also really like to pick up a second Art of War. But like I said, I'm not really trading for it, or I'm not really trying to buy these cards. I'm just trading as I get them. Another thing is, the Carrion Husk, I'm not actually sure if I would run the Carrion Husk over the Cross Strap. I mean, yes, it does block for 6, but you can do a lot with minimal hands in this game, or in this deck. Mostly, if you get stuck with some of the random discards, it could hurt. But I'm very happy with the deck. If anybody has anything, or maybe some games that you've been playing that you would like to share, just go ahead and put them in the chat there, or maybe some questions, any questions at all. But I've been playing this. This is the first Blitz deck that I built. I've absolutely loved it. I have some other ones built, like I have a chain deck built. I'm still working on that. I have like 3 different deck ideas in that. But with the Skirmish season coming up, I just don't want you to completely steer away from Levia. Give Levia a chance, and she'll love you back. And I'm Ugly Kid Joe Cross, and thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll probably put out some more deck techs. I have a constructed Oldham deck that I've been working with, and I'll probably do a video for that sometime. And hopefully you'll check it out, and hopefully you'll keep playing Flesh and Blood. Have a good time. Good luck at your skirmishes. Good luck at your armory events. And take care. Thank you guys so much.